Hello, welcome guys. Welcome to this another video of managing your Dell EMC infrastructure. In today's video, we're going to look at how we can manage our Dell EMC infrastructure using Ansible Playbooks. If you are an infrastructure guy who deploys infrastructure within your environment, you need to watch this video. If you're someone who cares about automation, you need to watch this video. If you are someone who is looking to avoid human mistakes, human errors within your environment, you need to watch this video. So let's get on with it. So let's see, what is Ansible? Well, Ansible is a free open source tool available at your disposal to automate lots of tasks, including infrastructure deployment within your environment. Best of all, it is available for most of the platforms out there: Windows, Linux, Mac. If you're working within a DevOps environment, Ansible is kind of a must. Ansible components. Before we can start automating the deployment of our infrastructure, we need to understand the different components of Ansible. A quick disclaimer, this is not a comprehensive view of Ansible and only provides a very high-level view of the technology. So let's get on with it. To begin with, we have something called a controller node. Controller node is a system where Ansible resides. Then you have something called a managed node. There could be one or many managed nodes within your environment. These are the systems that are controlled by Ansible and against which the automation tasks are carried out. Before the controller nodes becomes useful, it needs to have something called Ansible engine. Think of it as the brains behind the automation. This is the software that carries out the automation within the environment. Then we have something called Ansible modules. Ansible modules are the piece of code that provides the interface between the Ansible engine and the piece of technology on the managed node that we are trying to manage. As an example, there would be an Ansible module for database. There would be a separate module to manage a switch and a third one to manage the server. Based on the Ansible module, we would carry out different tasks on the managed node. Task would be a simple instruction that needs to be carried out. As an example of task would be ping the host, turn it on, turn it off. When multiple tasks are combined together into one single file, that constitutes a playbook. A playbook would have all the instructions that you need to carry out against one or many managed nodes. However, how would Ansible know about these managed nodes? That's defined within an inventory file. That would be a list of all the managed hosts that you want to execute a given playbook or a given task against. When combined together, these tasks are carried out against a single managed node or an entire data center. From Ansible's point of view, that does not make a difference. The next question arises, why use Ansible? Well, I know a lot of people ask that question simply because they can do the infrastructure deployment configuration using the GUI tool, and they're pretty happy with it. Yes, I get that argument all the time. Well, think of it this way. If you are deploying one server at a time, making the configuration, the chances are you are going through some sort of spreadsheet or a checklist within a Word document to go through and pick up the items that you are going to configure. A very recent example, COVID-19. Due to this pandemic, a lot of my friends and customers saw a big jump in remote working requirements. A lot of employees in their companies started working from home, and these customers and friends had to quickly ramp up their infrastructure to meet those demands. Imagine if they were doing it one server at a time, how long will it take? Well, good thing is these guys used all the automation available at their disposal to meet those demands and quickly ramp up. Well, how many times have we seen human error where a person forgot to check one little box or type in a wrong password wrong argument, wrong configuration, and that means you have to go and revisit that configuration again. Well, that was a small environment. Well, let's think of it if you're in a medium or a large size environment. Imagine if it takes 5-10 minutes to configure one server, and if you're going to do hundreds or thousands of those servers. Well, multiply it by those numbers, and you'll see why an automation of some kind is really, really important, especially in this day and age where everything needs to be done yesterday. So how can we use these Ansible playbooks to automate the deployment of infrastructure within our environment? Well, every Dell PowerEdge server is equipped with Dell iDRAC module, which is the out-of-band management module in each and every Dell PowerEdge server. We use Ansible playbooks to pass on the instructions to this iDRAC module to configure it in the way we want it. No more looking at those spreadsheets or Word documents and checking the box with a pen each to it. So we've now finished seeing what Ansible is, how we can use different Ansible components to automate the deployment of the infrastructure within our environment. Now let's have a quick demo of putting these concepts in principle. Over here, this is the listing of my folder where I have saved one Ansible Playbook, Enterprise Server Config, and a host file that contains the list of my servers within my environment. If I open up this host.ini file, we can see that I have broken down my servers into two separate groups, one for lab servers for testing purposes and another one for production. In this demo, I'm going to target only the server within the lab environment. If we now look at the playbook within the text editor, we can see there are different tasks that I have assigned for a given playbook to execute against a server, like adding a new user, enable and set NTP server, set up the NTP server to an Australian NTP configuration, set up the time zone to Melbourne, and turn on the server. These, as I said, these are very simple tasks, but will give you an idea of how things work within Ansible. Let's have a quick look on the current state of the server. We can see the server is currently powered off. If we have a look in the iDRAC settings, we can see there is only one user created, and within the NTP service, it is currently set to UTC, and NTP server setting is disabled. So now let's get back to our playbook and try to execute it within Ansible environment. The command to execute the playbook is Ansible-playbook. Provide the playbook name, which in this case is enterprise server config.yaml, -i and provide the inventory file name, -l to provide the subsection or the group that you are targeting against, in this case is the lab, and provide it some extra variable such as the iDRAC user ID, iDRAC password to manage the server, and the password for the new user that would be created as part of this playbook. So let's execute this. We can see the playbook add user has been successfully completed. It's enabling NTP. Took a few seconds. The time zone has been set to Melbourne, Australia, and server has been powered on. Let's go back to our iDRAC and see if this has made any changes. If we refresh the iDRAC view, we can now see this. First of all, the server is powered on. If we go to the iDRAC setting and click on the users, we will see a new user created for, as per mentioned within our playbook. Under the settings, we will see the time zone is set to Melbourne, Australia, NTP server enabled, and the NTP server is set to au.pool.ntp.org. For this demo's purposes, I have run this playbook against one server within my lab group. I could have easily run this against 100 of servers without making a difference. So this gives you an idea of how easy Ansible Playbook makes it to deploy and configure your server. Before we finish today's video, I want to leave you with some of the online resources that you may find helpful to get started with using Ansible and deploying a DellEMC PowerEdge server within your environment. I would like to thank you for viewing today's video and would love to see your feedback on what can we do for our future videos. Please do not forget to hit subscribe to spread the word around and share this knowledge with the world. Thank you so much. Goodbye.